You know George Soros?
Oh, yeah.
Open Society Foundation. This thing, as you get deeper, it's even crazier. How many people you think are willing to do all of those things for $25 million a year salary? The solution to something like this is...
I've been watching Patrick Bet David for a number of years, and recently, either something has clicked in him or the next phase of the plan has been activated. He's been really going into beast mode recently and putting the gloves on and taking some shots at the powers that be. And in this video, he exposes the woke agenda, why they do what they do, but more importantly, what we can do to defeat this. So with that, let's get into the clips.
So we're going to talk about Target,
Yeah.
Bud Light, DEI, CEI, ESG, PRI, and
Companies
NGOs,
behind
which some of these acronyms I don't know. So please educate us.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of things. You guys hear about what the Oscars Academy just announced 3 weeks ago and what it takes to be nominated for an Oscar moving forward? Have you guys heard about this or no?
No.
So Hollywood just came out and announced that moving forward, to be nominated for an Academy, you have to have your leading role on any movie. A percentage of it has to be from a underrepresented community. The actors have to be part of a underrepresented community. The workers behind camera have to be part of it. A third has to be part of an underrepresented community. The editors, the shredders, the camera guys, a third have to be part of underrepresented communities. You can Google this and show it, or else you cannot be nominated.
Wow.
Meaning, and then they broke down what it means to be part of the underrepresented community. If you want to know what those 6 things are to be part of the underrepresented community, here's how they define it, to be part of the underrepresented community, okay? Number 1 is women, people of color, LGBTQ+, people with disabilities, people from low-income communities, people from rural areas, and people of indigenous heritage. What? If you are that, and you have a third of it in some of the categories, then you can be nominated for a Oscar. Let me explain to who does not qualify if this were to ever happen. And pretty much 99% of movies that ever won an Oscar would not be able to qualify today to do this. Here's a part that people don't realize that's going on in Hollywood. You guys know why all the creative actors escaped to go to Hollywood? Like, do you know where they escaped from to end up going to Hollywood? Jersey. Why Jersey? Hollywood used to be in Jersey. Why?
Really?
Because Thomas Edison was in Jersey. So if you go type in Thomas Edison, New Jersey, Hollywood, you'll see. The reason why they left Jersey and Thomas Edison, because it was so regulated that he said, you have to make movies based on my guidelines or else. Finally, these guys are like, screw this place. We're going to Hollywood. So to go to Hollywood, in 1920, all the major motion pictures movies that were made, 95% of all the major motion picture movies were made in Hollywood. You know what that number is today? 55 million. 4 years ago, do you know how many people watched the Oscars in America? 44 million. You know how many people watched the Oscars this year? 18.7 million. The 3 worst years of watching the Oscars in the last 20 years were the last 3 years. People are done. Today, I want to watch a movie with Sebastian Maniscalco and Robert De Niro. It's a new movie about a father, all this other stuff. Right off the bat, the movie starts with an LGBTQ community. If you watch the new, what is the new Fast and the Furious? The guy that's, what is the Aquaman? What's the guy?
Jason Momoa.
He's gay. Yeah, he's gay in the movie.
In the movie,
Fast and the Furious is gay.
So firstly, let me address something quickly, guys. I get a lot of comments and emails from people criticizing me for the fact that I promote Fresh and Fit podcast. But they actually do these sort of podcasts all the time where they get unbelievable knowledge and wisdom from incredibly accomplished men. And I've learned a lot from these episodes. And I encourage you guys to check them out too and avoid being deterred from their content because of the way that the internet paints them as some stupid misogynists. They're doing some good work and I've gotten a lot of value from it. So I'm actually going to leave a few of my favorite of their interviews in the comments. Now let's talk about Hollywood before PBD tells us why they are doing these things, which we need to know. Hollywood is a complete and utter cesspit of woke garbage, and it has been completely and utterly bought and sold by this woke agenda to the point where they now have these quotas where in order to be eligible for an Oscar, you need to have 30% of your crew in these underrepresented communities. And my concern really isn't for Hollywood, even though I do like movies, and obviously they are beyond repair now, and they are going to just slowly crash and burn. My concern is more about artistic creation. You can't police art. In fact, I don't think you should have any constraints whatsoever on artistic pursuit, and here's why. Artists are the ones who move our culture forward. They're the trailblazers that pave the way for the rest of us. They are the ones who expand collective consciousness, but in order to be able to do that, they need to be unshackled and creating with reckless abandon. And here's the way I see it. Picture our society like a big collective farm, like a big kibbutz. Most people are happy to just stay within the confines of the farm and don't really care too much for what roams beyond. And then you get your hyper creatives, the ones who create movies, write books, create art, create music, and stand-up comedy. These are the individuals who sit on the borders and they poke and prod and they want to know about parts unknown. And ultimately, these are the people that expand the borders so that everybody else can come and eventually farm that land. And if we don't have this, then we get a counter effect where everything just begins to contract and eventually we're all suffocated. And this is exactly what we are seeing at the moment. Wokeness is suffocating artistic pursuit on all fronts because the powers that be, who we are about to speak about, know that if they want to gain said power, they must get rid of the wild creative mavericks or just have them comply and submit. You see, art is always and forever at the coalface of culture, and normally it's a perfect representation of the society that produced it. For example, if you look at Renaissance artwork from Florence, it's beautiful and made for a higher power. And then if you look at the artwork of North Korea, it's indicative of a demoralized nation. And then you look at Hollywood and the music industry, and it paints not only a very vivid picture of the artistic deterioration, but also of a cultural deterioration. Now, let's have a look at exactly why this is happening. But before we get there, guys, if you are a supporter of anti-establishment narratives, and if you do enjoy this sort of content, if you see the value in what I'm doing, then please take a second out of your time to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment. It helps me enormously with the YouTube algorithms. On to the next.
So guess what? So now people ask and say, well, I don't understand this stuff. Why are they doing this? Bud Light loses 25%. Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light loses 25% of sales since they decided to team up with Dylan Mulvaney. Target, since they announced they have a trans section because of Pride Month, their stock dropped 12%. They lost $9 billion. Target lost $9 billion in a span of roughly 2 weeks.
Damn.
Their stock dropped. Why? So people say, well, these CEOs are idiots. They're morons. You should do this. They have no clue what they're doing. You should fire this person. That's not how this thing works. So the whole thing, you have to look at how this thing comes about. So UN, United Nations, comes out with something called PRI. Then PRI starts raising money from NGOs. NGOs are non-governmental organizations. So such as Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, you know. Yeah. So then these NGOs come out with this ESG score, and the ESG score, they have a couple different areas. One is called DEI, diversity, equity, inclusive, and then they have the CEI. I think it's called Corporate Equity Index or something like that. Then there's an organization called HRC, Human Rights Committee, that is funded by Open Society Foundation. Open Society Foundation has been given $32 billion of money by one guy named George Soros. You know George Soros? Oh, yeah. Open Society Foundation is George Soros' foundation. Since 1984, George Soros has given Open Society Foundation $32 billion of his own money. Not other people's money, his own money. So what does this have to do with anything? This thing, as you get deeper, it's even crazier. Do you know BlackRock? I don't know if you've heard of BlackRock, yes. Larry Fink, you know Vanguard, and you know State Street. Yep. Do you know how much money BlackRock has under management? Do you know the number of how much assets under management BlackRock has? Yep. If you were to take a wild guess, how much assets under management BlackRock has, what would you say that number is?
I'll say this. They're buying up like all the single family homes in the United States right now.
You're a smart guy. You're a sharp guy. What would you say that number is? How much you think they have assets under management?
AUM, assets under management.
Man. What do you think it is? I'll put it to you this way. Have you heard of Guggenheim that bought the Dodgers? They have $300 billion of assets under management. Oak Tree Capital Management that gave us, we worked with them before, they have $160 billion under management. Bain Capital, massive. They have $100 billion of assets under management. What do you think BlackRock has as assets under management?
I'm going to say between 500 to 600 billion then.
You ready? $11 trillion.
Wow.
Did you hear what I just said?
Oh,
11 trillion. By the way,
wow.
I swear to you.
10 and a half, $11 trillion. Do you know what the US GDP was last year? 32 trillion.
Yeah.
So America as a business did 32 trillion last year. BlackRock has $11 trillion. BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street combined have roughly a 10% stake to 15% stake on 88% of S&P 500 companies. Let me say that one more time.
Wow.
BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street collectively have roughly 10 to 15% of equity in nearly 88% of S&P 500 companies.
That's fucking crazy.
And
top 500 companies in the United States.
Top 500 companies in the United States. 24.9% of board seats are controlled by BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. Nearly 88% of these guys. So what does this mean? Guess what they do? They control everything.
Yeah.
They control everything. So they get to tell the companies, if you want to borrow money from me, for example, let's just say your name is Dodgers. You're like, man, if we want to really give this guy a contract for $400 million over 10 years, let's go raise the money. All right. Hey, can you give us some money here? No problem. BlackRock, here's $100 million. Bank of America, here's $100 million. Goldman Sachs, here's $200 million. Go offer this guy a $400 million contract, but your ESG score is low. What I need you to do is I need you at the Dodgers game to have a lesbian non-indulgence. I don't know if you guys saw the story or not. Have you guys seen this thing? What happened at Dodger Stadium?
I haven't seen it.
Okay, anyway, so this whole story comes out with there's an organization called Something of Indulgence where transgender men are out there and doing what they're doing because Dodgers has to increase their ESG score.
These are the people that probably are reading books to kids and all this other stuff. Same
That's
organization.
exactly
probably?
what it is. So again, the point with these guys, the money guys are imposing high ESG score. I'll give you this final thoughts for you guys to be thinking about how deep this is getting. You know what the top five highest ESG scores in America is? Number 5 is Bank of America. Number 4 is Salesforce. Number 3 is Microsoft. Number 2 is Intel. And number 1 is Alphabet. You know what are some of the companies with the worst ESG scores in America? Tesla, one of the worst.
Yep.
Tesla's fixing the environment, helping the environment to have one of the worst.
Yep.
Twitter's one of them.
Yep.
You got Xerox is one of them. AT&T is one of them. I can give you Fox Corporate is one of them.
Sure.
These companies who have low ESG scores, they're not controlled by those guys, but those guys don't give them a good score, so they have a hard time raising more money from other people. It's a mess on what they're doing. Say that again.
Do you know what ESG stands for? I was going to.
Yeah, environmental social governance. Environmental social governance, I believe.
So is that like basically your how woke you are?
How woke you are.
It's your woke score.
Yes.
That's exactly what it is.
So it's funny because
there's a social credit score that they do in China. This is your corporate
and environmental service.
Environmental social governance. I want to say.
Okay. So you think they probably sold their soul, borrowed money, and that's why they had to do that stupid ass ad. This is why Gillette did the controversial toxic masculinity ad. Because I've always been wondering, like, why are they taking crazy risks and ostracizing their consumer base?
Say you don't do it, but you know what happens if you don't do it? They control the board seats. If you don't do it, guess what the board is doing to you? They're firing you.
Right.
How many people you think want a job paying you $25 million a year salary? How many people you think would like to be the CEO of Anheuser-Busch? How many people you think would want to be a CEO of Target? How many people you think want that job? 1,000 people?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Guys that went to Harvard, Yale, Princeton.
Of course.
There's 1,000 guys that want that job. How many people you think are willing to do all of those things for $25 million a year salary? Plenty of people.
everyone.
You know, it's funny.
Plenty of people.
With BlackRock, I was going to say 10 trillion because they're literally buying every single thing, even close to buildings as well, and single family.
Yeah.
Which means they're going to control pretty much all of our
They're a
huge
big
portion.
reason why we have a housing shortage, so to speak.
Now, let's have a look at some of the more important things that he just said. Because honestly, there was so much depth to that in order to cover it all, I would need to do a mini series on each different topic. So why are these companies all going broke when they're losing billions of dollars and they're seeing other companies do it and, having their stocks crash and losing so much money? The reason why these big companies do this is to get a better ESG score. What is ESG? Well, ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. This is a woke social credit system. A small number of very large and powerful financial institutions have created their own concepts of what it looks like to be environmentally responsible, socially responsible, and what proper corporate governance should look like. And then according to these guidelines, they can then manipulate the market instead of having a free market. Companies are given an ESG score, and then based upon these ESG scores, major asset managers like BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street decide whether they give these companies any investment capital or preferential loans, etc. And I've experienced this personally because before I was doing YouTube, I was working in the corporate world, and they were hiring in my office and they said that they had to hire a female. And the reason for this was because they had to meet a certain ESG quota, which then put them in a certain bracket, which allowed them to get large investments. Furthermore, another point he made, BlackRock alone has $11 trillion of assets under management, which is more than a third of the USA's GDP. And BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street combined have roughly 10 to 15% stake in 88% of S&P 500 companies, which is the fastest 500 growing companies in the country, and control 25% of board seats. They control absolutely everything. And shout out to Patrick Bet David for shining a light on that one, guys. He's shining a light on the fact that we have a literal financial cartel at the top of the corporate world that, like James Lindsay says, are dragging the entire market around like a bull with a ring through its nose. And that ring is called ESG. They are using this as a way to control the markets for their own interests. And that's why we are seeing all of these companies go woke. And this is only going to get so much worse over the next few years. But I'm an optimist and a fighter, and I'm sure you are too if you've made it this far into this video. So let's have a look at how we can all stand up to this thing and beat it.
In my possible simple mindset, can't imagine how you can fight that.
Do you know why we're even able to have this conversation right now together?
Free speech?
Do you know why we're able to have this conversation right now? Okay, a Jewish man, a Middle Eastern man, a black man, and
Arab guy.
Okay,
Muslim
well, watch four of us.
Could be better.
How different we are, and we're sitting at a table right now, and 9835 is right now watching live. Do you know why we're able to do this right now? I will say 1,000 anti-establishment people in the last 270 years in America. That's why. And those 1,000 anti-establishment guys fought for you and I, and they've never met you. You'll never meet them. You don't even know what they went through. You don't know how they targeted their families, all this other stuff. You and I are able to have this conversation because the world still has few anti-establishment guys that can't be bought and can't be bullied. Power to those guys that are not afraid to fight.
Yeah.
Power. By the way, do you know what is the ultimate riskiest job in the world? You know what's the riskiest job in the world? Position. What is the riskiest position in the world?
Very good question.
It's not a president.
Politician?
Anybody that's loud, vocal, fighting against the establishment. It's the riskiest job in the world.
Of course, they'll cancel you.
Period.
Yeah. We've seen it.
Yeah.
Andrew Tate.
Yeah. Andrew Tate, Ryan Dawson.
Yeah.
You know, like if you talk about anything that challenges the establishment and you have a big enough platform, or you talk about certain taboo subjects, they're going to cancel you. So, yeah.
Okay, so question though, how do we fight it?
So you get to pick and choose, like, for example, beer companies. If a person's sitting there saying, I don't like what Bud Light is doing, no problem. Guess what? Start a beer company. Whoever starts to support them. Help them out. Let them get bigger.
Even Miller Lite made a woke commercial recently with the females.
Sure. And let them do it. Yeah. But then if other people start a direct competitor to them, support them. Whatever it may be. Go buy their product. Go support their product. Go do what they're doing. Like, for example, I told Chris today, I said, I don't know if you, Chris from Rumble, I said, I'm one of your biggest cheerleaders. You don't even know it. I said, you have no idea how important it is what you're doing. Rumble is very, very important to the marketplace. Very. Because there is an alternative place to go. Spotify is very important to the marketplace. There's an alternative place to go. Twitter is a very important place to the marketplace. Exactly. There's a place to go. These are things that they have a place to go, right? For them to go. And we need to support those companies. We need to help out those companies.
I agree.
And we need to build up those companies. It's the solution to something like this is unequivocal. It's 100% of individuals willing to compete. But to me, I put Daily Wire out there. I put Rumble out there. I put Twitter out there. I put any of these guys out there. Anybody that's competing with the traditional media space, if they got a $20 a month product, $40 a month product, guess what? Go support them. Buy them. Because if you don't, then you're also supporting the other side.
Right. Okay.
You know how many people pay Netflix every month? You know what the number is? You know how many active users they have today? Do you know the number?
Probably a lot.
212 million people.
Damn.
Netflix. 212. Disney's got over 150 million.
And they have an agenda.
And they have an agenda.
Yeah.
And you know how many Daily Wire has? 2 million. So support these guys. Support the guys that are willing to do the fight. I don't have a stock in Daily Wire. I don't have a stock in Rumble. Some people would even say, why are you supporting your direct competitors? Because these guys have the audacity to fight against the guys that want to control everybody.
Yeah.
All this stuff we're doing, why are we doing it? Because you're challenging the status quo. You're pushing the envelope. And we need more people who have the audacity and willing to put their energy into it. And whoever's doing that, support their cause.
Damn.
We need to support more of the creators' cause that are willing to fight the fight. They are more important. It's very easy today to, do what? Here's what's easy to do today.
Sit back, relax.
Dude, sit back.
Go with the flow.
There's so many ways to make money today.
Yeah.
What if you just chill out? What if you're like, listen, man, you know what? This freaking bullshit pressure, I can't do anything about it anymore. I'm just going to go relax, do my own thing, and live in Singapore. And I'm going to just forget America. Screw America. America's not doing anything for me. Or you can say, no, I'm not going to do this. Just I'm not in my idea. I'm going to fight. Great. Then if those people who have the audacity to fight, we have to support them.
So there you go, guys. We need to be creating alternatives, and we need to be supporting the anti-establishment individuals who can't be bought and can't be bullied. We need to be voting with our dollars, our support, and our attention. And this is why I really look up to guys like Patrick Bet-David, because he made hundreds of millions of dollars when he sold his insurance company. But instead of riding off into the sunset in a Ferrari or on a yacht, he's staying the course and decided to fight the good fight. But more importantly, he's doing it in a strategic way by the looks of things. You have to build an army before you go to war. And the man has the resources. He's a great communicator. He's now reaching millions and millions of people and is able to influence culture. So if I were a gambling man, I would say this is all a part of his plan. I'm looking forward to seeing what PBD does in the future. So with that, guys, check out those links that I've left at the top of the comments and in the bio. And also, if you guys want to watch another video, click right here. Until next time, I'm Jake. This is Rattlesnake TV, keeping you armed and dangerous.